Before we do that, and before we take questions, I'd like to hand over to my friend and colleague and new MP since 2016, Sandy Martin, MP for Ipswich. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Tracy. First of all, I don't think anybody else...
Not Ipswich, is it?
It is Ipswich, yes. I don't think anybody else in this room was expecting me to be here, and I know Tracy wasn't expecting me to be here. I wasn't expecting to be talking to you. I've had several conversations with Ibrahim over the last year. He's doing a fantastic job in raising this whole issue in Parliament, and so I was persuaded to come and talk to you from the front position instead of sitting down there comfortably and listening to what everybody else had to say. I'm not speaking for the Labour Party, I'm speaking about what I believe myself, and I need to make that point clear because I haven't cleared this with anybody at all. But I actually first became aware of a serious human rights and self-determination deficit a long time ago. I worked, one of the worst periods of my life, I was working in a do-it-yourself warehouse in Croydon. And one of my fellow workers there was a Kurdish refugee from Iran. And he'd had to come to this country because he was being persecuted in Iran. He was a Sunni. He and his family were not welcome in the country where they'd been born and brought up, because the state boundaries were drawn in such a way that they were within a Shiite state, and they were within a state where they were treated as a persecuted minority. And this is always a problem when you've got peoples who are living in other people's countries as they see it, you know, where the boundaries are drawn through the middle of a region that other people inhabit. So the reason I'm here and the reason I'm talking to you is because we have quite a large number of Kurdish people living in Ipswich. I have been told by somebody, although I haven't been able to verify it, that it is the second largest Kurdish population outside of London. I'm not sure if that's true. I would like to see the statistics, but certainly it is I think I'm right in saying it is the second or third largest ethnic minority in Ipswich, the Kurdish population in Ipswich. And we have Kurds who have come to Britain from Turkey and from Syria, as well as from Iraq. And I think the Kurdish population is probably the largest population of people who do not have their own nation state. The oppression of Kurdish people in various parts of what should be Kurdistan has been going on for a very long time. And I think sometimes people, because of the horrors that took place with the war with ISIS, have forgotten some of the horrors that have taken place in the past. But who could forget the gas attacks from Saddam Hussein? Yeah. Who could forget some of the monstrous activities that have taken place over the decades? So, you know, alas, you know, we have to work with governments, we have to work with countries that exist, we have to work with the Turkish government, we have to try and make Turkey a more democratic and a more open and a more humanitarian country. And so I don't think that the likelihood of Turkey unilaterally agreeing that a part of what is currently Turkey should actually become a part of Kurdistan is going to happen anytime soon. But I will say this, I don't believe any nation state ever benefits from refusing self-determination and oppressing the human rights of a minority within that state. And that's true whether you're talking about the occupied territories in Israel or outside of Israel, but still dominated by the Israeli army, or whether you're talking about Iraq or Iran or Syria or Turkey. We need to have a situation where people can determine which state they want to live in, and I think that would be a good principle to work towards. In the meantime, as I say, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. I'm absolutely delighted that you have a good autonomous government in Kurdistan, and I'm sure that we would all support that. But for those Kurds who have fled from Turkey or from Syria or from Iran, it's not going to be easy for them to go back home anytime soon. And I do know that a lot of the Kurds living in Ipswich are likely to want to stay. So from my point of view, I want to continue to support anybody who is campaigning to remove the oppression of Kurdish people in the Middle East, but I also want to do everything I possibly can in order to stimulate unity and community activity and help Kurdish people who, for one reason or another, are going to be living in this country for a very long time. We have got quite a large organised group of Bangladeshis in Ipswich, and they get together and they work really well. I don't think we have the same level of social support for Kurdish people in Ipswich, and I want to make that happen. And I think every Labour MP will want to make sure that any minorities living in their constituency have some level of representation, some level of community activity, something which stops people from feeling that they're being marginalised and left to the corners of our society. And so I hope to work with Ibrahim and with others to make that happen in Ipswich, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you.